Cool. So today we're going to use Postman and we're going to build a Rails something or other that we test with Postman. We're going to get rid of this because that's just, just some random thing I was responding to, but now it's recorded forever. So yeah, we'll be able to see exactly what Facebook post I was responding to, which is fun. Cool. Now we get to go to Postman. Let's download Postman. Bam. Postmam. That there is a post woman, but I feel like Postmam would be funnier. I don't know. This is the dumb. There actually is a post woman, and it's all based online. Oh, someone got. Maybe they got rid of it. I don't know. Anyways, Postman.
I think they rebranded.
Yeah, that could be it. There no implications here, but I do actually think Postman worked a little bit better for me than Postwoman. Postwoman was like online based, so it was like not functioning as well. There's other tools than Postman. Postman is just the one we use now. So cool. So the nice thing about Postwoman that when I used it was that it was all online. Yeah, just download it from here, and then after you download it, it should be free. There might be a paid version. Let's see. Probably go to product. I haven't downloaded this in forever.
I just Googled Postman download.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. Oh Lord. Download Postman. There we go. Try Postman for free. Cool. I guess just download that, and then you'll get the app. And then when you get the app, it'll look something like this. Make sure though, like when you download something, normally it'll download to your downloads folder, kind of like with VS Code. Just make sure you take whatever's in your downloads folder and you drag it into your applications folder here. So that way everything works right. Cool. And for now, just have it open and ready to go, because it's going to be kind of hard to do anything useful with Postman until we've actually created some Rails stuff. Cool. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're going to create a Rails app. So we are going to start by going into our throwaway folder. And here we are going to now create a new Rails app. Rails, let's go ahead and do new. Let's make one about, let's do it, we're going to do it on guitars. Any guitar people here? Cool, nice. Love it, love it. Am I missing anything here?
Dash API.
Yeah, what does the dash API do?
Tells you to ignore other components that aren't part of the API.
What I'm going to say is it gets rid of the view part of the model view controller. Architecture. It's doing stuff, do a little dance, drink some coffee while it's doing stuff, sing a little song while it's going on. Well, okay.
Sorry, John, what was the command again?
Rails new, dash API. I probably should have not called this guitar, but I called it guitar. Probably should have called it like guitar fun time backend or whatever. Cool. So now what we're going to do is we are going to open up this guitar API in code. We're going to make, for right now, we're going to make guitars pretty simple. They're going to have a number of strings. They're going to have a Boolean if it's bass. And they're going to have, let's write it while I do it. So first of all, what am I going to do to create a guitar model?
Rails G resource.
Ooh, are y'all using resource yet? Y'all been taught resource? Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, Rails G resource is the way to do it, the best way. And you know what? We'll have owners too. So actually, do y'all want to, no, we'll keep it simple for now. Wait, let me think about something. Yeah. let's start with users. Is that okay? I changed my mind. We're going to start with users because I think we might be able to get around to doing a one-to-many today. We might not. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Primary concern will be controllers, Postman, and stuff like that. So we're actually going to start with, I don't know, customers. So we are going to Rails G resource, and we are going to make a customer. Well, what are the 3 things that are effectively going to get created here when I run Rails G resource customer? There should be 3 files that get created from Rails G resource.
Model, controller, migration.
A model, controller, and a migration. And then there's one file that it makes a change to that we care about too. Yep, the routes file. Awesome. So we're creating a customer resource, and maybe we want a customer to have, for now, we'll just give a customer a name. And yeah, that's all Guitar Center needs to know. Sweet. So, oh, it worked. Cool. So again, I'm going to look at this. Cool. We created a migration file. We created a model. We created these tests that we don't care about because we're cool and we don't use tests, except for actually it's way better to use tests, but it's hard to learn, so we're not teaching it yet. And then we have app controllers, customers. So we created customers controller. We created a test for that controller, but also we use this resources command to edit the route file. Awesome. So we did all of that. Let's go ahead and make some customers. And you know what?
Hey, John.
Yep.
I'm one step behind. Can you just show me in your command line what you, with the resources, what attributes you put in there?
Bam.
Please.
Also, who was that? I could not hear. Oh, that was you. Cool.
That's Marissa.
Sorry, I need to move this grid of people to my other screen. Bam. Now we talking. It's my New York accent coming out. I am from New York, but that was a really bad New York accent. Sweet. Caught up to speed now?
No, I don't really see it.
You don't see it at the bottom here? That
So I
help?
see like resources customer. No, I mean like before you hit enter, what did you have in there with the G resources?
Rails G resource customer name. This is like right here. Everything on here. Whoops.
That's all I need to know.
Yep. Cool.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
No worries. Thank you for slowing me down there. I appreciate that, because I'm sure if you were at that point, someone else was too. That's why it's always good to ask questions like that. Sometimes I will prioritize in lessons like getting further rather than like slowing down, but this time I'd rather everyone follow along. So sweet. So we now have this done. How do I migrate and create my customers table inside of my SQL file? I saw you say it, Mel. I'm just going to type it. I saw that I lip read, I think. Rails DB migrate. You were muted though. Nice. So now that we've migrated that, we should have the things that we need. All right. So what we're going to do is, starting off, before we actually make any seeds, in fact, we're not even going to fuck with the seeds file today. Why? Because the first thing that we want to do is we want to create a customer. So let's head over to our routes file. To pull open my routes file, I could go to config, initializers, initializers. Oh, see, it's not there. Is it? Wait, where's my routes? Yep, it is in there. It's routes. It's all the way down there. But hey, that literally took me a good 7 seconds just to find that thing. Or I can type in Command P and then start typing in R, O. Oh, there it is. I typed in Command P and then 2 letters and it popped up. And now I pressed enter and I can look at my routes file. Isn't that nifty? Thank you, VS Code. Thank you. Sweet. Also, just in general, work on those shortcuts. You will thank yourself for it in a month. I promise you. You're going to be like, holy shit, it slowed me down for a day, but now like I am way fucking faster. Holy shit. So just do it. Trust me. Just trust me. Just work on them. Awesome. So we are now in our routes file. What does resources do? What does this little nugget of code do right here?
Add like the gets, puts, patch, delete.
So what this does, and I'm not going to go too deep into it. If you want a deeper lesson on this, you can request something on like custom routes in Rails. But what this does is it says, oh, I sent a GET request to the, I don't know, the customer's endpoint. Send that over to my index method. I sent a I sent a GET request to the customers and then also added an ID on there. How about we get that to the show endpoint? Oh, I sent a post request to the customer's endpoint. How about you send that to the create method? Oh, I sent a delete request to the customer's ID. How about we send that to the destroy method, right? Is that starting to make sense on kind of what this route does? So this is not the actual syntax that you use, but this is actually really close to what the actual code would look like. I'm not going to worry too much about it, but the whole point of those HTTP requests is that they send information over to our backend, and when we send it to our backend says, one of the first things our backend says is, what type of request was that? Oh, it was a GET request, and it was to the customer's endpoint? Let me make sure I send that information over to this method. Actually, there is a better word for this method. What is the better word? I'm curious if y'all know this yet. There should be a better word than method to describe what index is. There's a little keyword. What do we call a method on a controller specifically?
Like show all, is that what you're looking for?
Nope. What do we call a method that's bound to the controller? You might not have learned this yet, so. So we call a method that's bound to the controller an action.
Action method.
So here we have an HTTP verb, and depending on what this is, we send it to an action. So this is the index action. This is the show action. This is the create action. And I can't remember if it's delete or destroy, but I called it destroy. Whatever. I don't do them that often. I haven't been doing a lot of back-end stuff lately, I guess. Sweet. Anybody confused by that? Ask me some questions. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is just prove to you that this is doing what I said it is. So what I'm going to do now is everybody do the shortcut. Command P, and then type in controller, and I'm going to go down with my arrow keys until I find customers controller. Bam. And now I'm in my customers controller. Okay. So we're just going to make those methods, and we're going to put bybugs in them. Who here, thumbs up if you know what a byebug is, thumbs down if you don't know what a byebug is. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Cool. It's just binding.pry. If you were, I don't think anybody had a thumbs down, but I just needed to say it for myself. So we're going to create all of these methods, and instead of doing anything in these methods, we're just going to pop a byebug in there. So we have our byebug, and we have our index method. We're going to create a show method. We're going to create a, let's see, a delete, or is it destroy? I think it's a destroy method. We'll figure it out if it's not that. And we'll make a create method. Cool. So we have all these methods created. And you know what? We want to put a byebug in all of them. Cool. Why is that not working? Whatever. Sweet. So all I want to do is prove to you that the HTTP method that we choose and the end point that we choose is going to define where this gets sent to. So what I am going to do is I am going to type in Rails S -P 9000. So that's just saying I'm running this thing on localhost 9000. You can, if you don't provide a -P, it's going to default to localhost 3000. I always do 9000 because fucking Dragon Ball Z, I already told you all that. Kamehameha. All right, bam, done. Sweet. So now what I'm going to do, does anybody know the tool that I am going to test this out with?
Postman.
Postman. We're going to use Postman. So the next step is we are going to open Postman up. I am going to type in Postman, which I guess my version is Postman 2. And let's see a chat here. Oh, nice. And what we are going to do, and hey, look, I already had it on Postman from the other day. So this time, my endpoint is going to be what? What is my endpoint going to be by default in Rails? For the customers class.
Is it going to be the index?
It's going to be customers. That's kind of like really what I meant. It's like, what am I going to write there? That was a good answer. It was just not the answer I wanted. That was actually a good answer as far as like what is. I see how you interpreted it that way. Just so you know, you're not crazy. That was a great answer. Awesome. I think I have to get rid of stuff. So for right now, and for Mod 2 in general, the only way that we're going to provide data to the back end is using these query params. I want y'all to take a second to, well, first, before we even worry about what the query params are, let's just hit the back end. So right now, I have my server running here. So the server is like saying, oh, okay, run this computer program and isolate this, whatever this terminal is, that terminal is getting all the power for this. I didn't do a good job of explaining that, but this instance is running the code, if that makes
Hey,
sense.
John.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I just had to make an account for Postman, so I'm trying to figure out where you are on your Postman page so I can follow along.
Raise your hand if you had to make an account for Postman. Okay. Let's all slow down and make sure everybody gets here first. I think that what you had to do is you had to go new and then request maybe to get here. Let me know if that's what you had to do. And if that's not what you had to do,
There's a link at the bottom that says skip this step. So you can make an account later if you don't want to do it right now.
Yeah.
I already made an account, but I just don't know where to go now.
Or sorry, Marty, I don't mean like you, but like at anyone.
I think what you can do is you can go to new and then request. And then it'll probably take you down like a little menu. You have to follow stuff. And then you should be in a similar menu. If
you sign up, you're going to have a workspaces on the top left. And if you click it and go to my workspace and then hit the plus sign beside overview, it'll put you where John is.
I pretty much always, when I open up Postman, just click around and dick around with stuff. There's a lot more you can do with Postman than we're going to do. Like if you're really using Postman all the time, you can like save requests that you write and be a lot more efficient with it than I am. Like there's definitely, if it's a tool that you use regularly, you can learn how to be a lot more efficient with it. All we really need to do is some really, basic stuff with Postman.
And what's the command that you put into Ruby right before that? With the 9000.
Rails S. So this stands for Rails serve, like run the server. And then -P is port 9000. So we are serving Rails on port 9000. Does that help for like remembering it a little bit?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Sweet. So we're here now.
You can also just do Rails S, right? And just do localhost
Yep.
3000.
Yep. If you do Rails S, it'll default to 3000. I just always do 9000. And I think it's always good to just show people different workflows. I think all the other instructors do localhost 3000. I like doing it this way just for whatever reason. So haters gonna hate. If
Like
you
it too.
understand what's going on, it shouldn't actually complicate stuff much. Okay, so is everybody at this page? Thumbs up if you're here. Cool. Lou, where you at right
I'm
now?
sorry, I'm not there. Do I do like a new request?
Yep.
Create a
so
request?
You should do new request. I think we'll do it, and then I think
So-
you can like honestly skip the stuff. Request name, I don't know, whatever. Testing
Okay.
meeting, Postman for fun.
So just untitled request and then we go with it.
Yeah, I don't actually know.
Hey, John, what was the last action you set up? Or all 4 actions? I think I missed one.
I don't, oh, cool. Well, it created it. What was the last action I set up? So index, show, destroy, create. I'm not
Okay.
sure that destroy is right. I'm a little worried about that one. There's also, what's the one for changing called? I forgot. I know it's a patch request, but I think it's an update.
Is it
Update.
update? Yeah.
Yeah, so we can do that one too. Cool. Are we good to go now? Yo, close.
Like
Yeah, but-
one more minute.
I'm like in the same boat as Marnie. I'm trying to navigate this Postman.
Do you want to try sharing your screen? Let's give it a shot, because if you're stuck, maybe someone else is too.
Yeah, sure.
Sweet. I think it's worth messing around with this yourself, because I think that like what I'm trying to do right now is basically demystify the controller. It's really not that scary once you kind of understand what it is. So, yep. So you're set up. You're good to go. In localhost, you see that part that says localhost? You're going
Right
to
here.
change that. That's going to say delete localhost, and now make it say HTTP : // localhost : and then 9000 if that's what you're on, and then / customers. Sorry. Cool. All right, why don't you go ahead and send that request? And hey, you see how you're stuck? Cool. I'm going to share my screen now. Marnie, did that unstuck you as well?
It's thinking. So
Good. That means that's perfect. Stuck as far as that goes is where you want to be. Because do you
Okay.
want to know why it's stuck? Here's another one. The reason why it's stuck is because it hit the byebug. That means that that's exactly what we wanted. Does that make sense? So here, did y'all send a GET request or a POST request? So I sent a POST request. A POST request goes to the create method. So now I'm just running code inside of the create method. So here, watch this. You could press Control D to exit. So let's just play around with these HTTP verbs. So if I do a patch request, this is going to send me. Oh, did I not save this? I might not have saved this. If I send a patch request, not found. No route matches customers. Does it not like? I don't know why that one's not working. Whatever. Let's try a delete request. Send. Oh, right. It's because you need to provide an ID for patch and delete. So for delete, let's do customers /1. So now I send that, it gets stuck. Let's do it again with maybe a GET request. This is going to send it to the index method. And rather than me just tell you what all these do, I want y'all to go through and take the next 5 minutes just to see if you can hit all of these methods, just to see if you can get inside of them, because this is how you access your code, your server, from outside of your server. So I want everyone to play around with that for 5 minutes. How do y'all feel about that? Cool.
John, what is it? What is it exactly that we're like? What is the feedback that we're trying to get? Because when I send these requests, I either get 404s or it just runs indefinitely.
So the reason why it gets stuck, watch this, ready? Here's something we could play around with. Let's go to the index method, right? I'm going to render something. All I'm going to do is I'm going to render to JSON an array of 1, 2, 3. That's it. So whatever I put in here is what gets rendered into JSON. Y'all can play around with this function if you want, this render function. So cool. I'm going to give that a save. So what I'm going to do now, just to give you, this is just to give you an idea of like the order in which things are occurring. I'm going to give this a save. And in what method, what HTTP verb do I use to hit the index action?
Post.
Post? Nope. It's
Just kidding.
It's a get request. And the get request can't have a /ID at the end of it. It has to be this endpoint with no slash. Make sense? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit send now. And now I'm stuck in this byebug. I can exit out of this byebug by hitting Control D. And notice how when I do that, it's no longer stuck here because the response came back. Does that make sense? And now the response that I got was that array that I rendered. Does that make sense? Cool.
Mine just keeps sending, like nothing ever.
Yep,
come
probably
through.
because look at your window that's running your server. You're probably in a byebug.
So it wouldn't bring up anything in a byebug?
Exactly. All we did was pause the code there. Does that make sense? All you did was trigger that action on your server. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't
and
know
then-
if it makes sense because I'm not seeing the same thing you're seeing with the same information. So I'm not sure if I'm typing something wrong or
Yeah, do you want to share your screen?
I'm sure.
Cool. So it looks like you're stuck in a byebug. That's exactly what it would look like. So can I now see your terminal? Okay, you're stuck in a byebug. You're stuck in the index method. See how that little, hang on a second, let me see if I can annotate. See this right here? This is saying that that's where you're stuck. So that means that right now, from a whole different computer, which is what basically you're simulating with Postman, you were able to trigger whatever code was inside of here. Does that make sense? That's what I'm trying to show you right now. And you can change which code you're triggering by changing this HTTP request. Does that make sense? Why don't you go ahead and add to exit the byebug, go to the terminal that's running the byebug. Like you see how it's like stuck, kind of like a bind.pry, and hit Control and D, and it should get you out of that byebug. And then you can send another request.
Will you remind me how you got it off that byebug to then go to the render once you were?
Yep. So what you could do, if you want, is in general, I have the byebug in there so that way I can manually exit using Control D. If we want, we can just delete this. So now, whenever I render anything in here, it's just going to render whatever I put here. If I put a hello world.
I don't think you're screen sharing anymore.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. So let's say I'm here. Whoops. Let's say I'm in my index method, right? I can render to JSON, and this is kind of like a key value pair here. This actually works just like this. It's a key value pair, but I want to render in response, I want to render JSON and then dump in anything in here. It's going to convert it into JSON. You can't do like a whole object, but like a hash works. Any nested data structure works. So if I did something like, oh, maybe I want an array of objects or something like that. Name equals John. Name equals Jimmy. So like that should also come back. Bam.
Thanks.
Awesome. Did that help?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Why don't we take a minute to just play around with this? So like literally, I think that y'all would get more out of just playing around with this and seeing what's going on and asking questions. Y'all are asking phenomenal questions, so keep them coming. I think.
What if I'm stuck in a byebug and I can't control D out of it? And when I press control D, it just pulls up all the control Ds that I did. If that makes any sense.
It could be that you've sent a bunch of requests and maybe. Why don't you go ahead and share your screen?
All right.
Byebug can be a little fucky sometimes. So if it's being weird, sometimes you just got to restart your server, and that's just what's going to happen. But yeah, go ahead and share. Let's. Oh, I got to stop sharing. My bad. Let's give it a look.
Can you see it?
Of course. Fuck boy fucking. Great.
Oops, sorry.
So you have to hit Control D, not Command D. I bet we'll do it. Oh, you're actually out of the byebug. You've exited it.
This is what happens. It pulls up all this crap.
Because you've already exited the byebug.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's all.
Cool.
So go ahead and send another one to your index method for me. But first fix that index method. Okay, give that a save and go back to Postman and send another one. All right, so now what I want you to do, he probably did that on another screen for anybody watching. I don't know if that was immediately apparent, but definitely worth calling out. So what I want you to do now is hit, oh wait, did you already hit Control D?
No, I didn't hit it. And then if I hit it, it pulls up all the old control Ds that I did, which is, see, it's so weird.
Do me a favor, just restart your server. Sometimes when you make changes to your controller, so hit Control C to exit out of that, your server. Now press up. You could also press up on your pad, bring up the previous command. Cool. Nice.
And then just send a request from Postman.
Yep. So now send a request from Postman. There you go. Now you're stuck in that byebug. Now try hitting Control D.
Oops. Hold on.
Cool. Yeah, sometimes you just got to restart your server. But I'm glad that you brought that up because I bet some people didn't even know how to restart a server. So thank you. Cool.
John, I'm still not getting anywhere with mine. Can I show you my screen?
Sure, go for it.
Okay. So this is what I have under index.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I go to Postman.
Oh, is your server running?
What do you mean? Right now?
Yep. So your server has to be running. Right now your server isn't running.
How do I do that?
The Rails S command. Rails S and then -P 9000.
So I have to be in that.
Yep, that has to be running in order for it to be listening for HTTP requests. Does that make sense?
So when I exited out, that messed that up. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Bam. Good job.
At last. Thank you.
Sweet. Awesome. Thank y'all for those questions. I really appreciate it.
John, mine still isn't working either. Can I show you my screen?
Yep, go for it. Also, Lou, I was not fucking offended personally. I don't know about anyone else, but I fucking was not offended.
I just want to put it out there for the room. So if I swear, I
if I was never an instructor, pretty much every example that I would have would involve the word fuck. So that's just the way my brain works.
My religion is not really okay with cursing, so I would prefer if you guys toned it down a little bit.
I can't tell if that was serious or not.
It was not.
Thank God, because I would have felt really bad if it was.
Okay, John. So I'm running the server, right?
Yeah.
And then here's the Postman. And if I hit send, tells me could not send request.
Cannot send request to localhost. This might be a Linux thing.
Nick
Let's
just
do-
pointed out in the chat, it's when you say, when you're calling it /customers, then you have to put a slash after it maybe, or no?
That's only if you want to hit the show endpoint. If you do
Okay.
a slash and then an ID, it'll hit you to the show endpoint. Go ahead and leave it as just customers for a second, no slash. And then can you go to your terminal that's running? And that is listening on 9,000. I have a hunch. Oh, you know what it is? You're doing browser Postman. You got to download the app. I
Okay.
know you don't like doing that, but you get certain permissions with local apps that you don't get with the browser version. That's actually the issue that I ran into with Postwoman.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. Y'all getting a better sense for like what's happening here with the controller? So I think that this is the hardest part for people to learn about controllers, because the actual code that you write is really simple code. And I think that hopefully as I do an example, you'll be like, oh shit, that is actually pretty simple. I think the harder part to conceptualize is I send certain requests and then it teleports me into this code temporarily. That's the concept that I'm really trying to drill down here, because I mean, it was a Postman class after all. Might as well get y'all some practice with Postman. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to figure out how do we actually send data into this thing. So now we're going to send data in by using these things called query params. So what you want to do here is make sure that this thing here is highlighted, called params. And what we can do is we can set key value pairs here. So I'm just going to make a few key value pairs. In Lou's honor, we'll do a fuck key, and the fuck key will have a value of, I feel like it should just be fuck also. We could do a cheese key and give it a value of Swiss. And we could do a name key and give it a value of John. Oops, I don't know why I did a quote there. All right. What have we noticed changed as I wrote stuff in here other than this code right here? Did anything else on my screen change as I wrote that?
Request.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see this big thing growing there? That is how query params work. Query params work by storing data in the URL that you are sending to. Does that make sense? This is not the best way to send information because it's very publicly available, but it's the way we're going to learn for right now, for sure, because it's the easiest to conceptualize. I'll send this thing over. I'm going to send the same GET request. I'm going to put a byebug back in my index method. A byebug. And now, when I'm in that byebug, we can play around with it. So now, inside of here, I should be stuck in a byebug, just like a binding.pry. And that I am. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to access something that you may or may not have known that we have access to here, called a params object. A params object is basically an object that takes in stuff from this query param string. It can get it from other sources, but for now we're only worrying about the query param string. It takes in stuff from there and it allows me to access it. So first I'm just going to show you what this object looks like. Okay, it's some complex like class object, and inside of it there's this hash, and this hash has all those key value pairs that I made. Fuck has a value of fuck, cheese has a value of Swiss, name has a value of John. And while I'm in this object, I can also like index things out of it. So I could do like params indexed at name. And now I pulled out John. Cool. Does everybody see the value of this? That I am sending data from through an HTTP request to something that's potentially a whole different computer. That's like the purpose here. So I want y'all to play around with that for a second. I'm going to put a few minutes on the clock. How are we on classes today? We have, let's see. This shit is loading slow. Cool. If y'all want, we can go a little late, but we don't have to. But I feel like since y'all are actually doing stuff, it might be worth, you know, going a little over, because it's not like I'm taking out of you guys actually getting your hands on the keyboard. But what I want y'all to do is, yeah, play around with those params objects. I want you to see if here's a little mini goal for the next 10 minutes. What I want you to do is I want you to pass in, let's see. I want you to pass in name 1, name 2, and name 3. I don't know why I just deleted name to write name 3. That was dumb. So I want you to pass in name 1, name 2, name 3. And then what I want you to do is return to the user in your index method. I want you to return an array of all of those names rendered to JSON. And while you're doing that, I'm going to leave this render method on here. And then so I'm going to leave this on here. I'm going to give y'all 5 minutes. That's your task. So the task would be cool. Set timer for 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes and counting.
What music do we want? If you're going to play anything, Kate Bush is the Total Eclipse of the Heart person, right? No, is that someone? That's called.
That's someone else.
Really? Who is that?
A little bit of a different
Bonnie
vibe.
Tyler or something.
Yeah, Veronica. I was going to say Veronica Taylor, but I think that's a voice actress.
Oh.
Bonnie. I don't know.
Bonnie Taylor. Hey, Julia. Who's Total Eclipse of the Heart?
Bonnie.
Bonnie.
Okay, I got y'all. Don't worry.
John, I know we're probably supposed to be quiet and working on our own, but I just am trying to catch up to what is on your screen now, how you got into that byebug and looked at the names that you had written in the Postman.
Yep.
How did you get there?
So you have to make sure you're sending a GET request. Why? Because a GET request is what will either send to index or show. And a GET request can't have a slash after customers. It can't be like /1/2. It just has to be localhost 9000 /customers. That should get you to that page. And then in your query params, you can write different query params, and you can access that params object once you're in this code using literally the variable created for you called params.
I can't seem to get in the byebug though. Like when I do the Rails S command.
Do you have a byebug in your index method?
Yes.
And did you save it, the file?
I thought I did. Yeah. I can try again though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't get me to the byebug.
Okay, you want to share your screen real quick?
Sure.
Sweet. And if you're feeling like ahead, you could also just play around with the params object and probably see the next step would be, why don't you see if you could actually do an index method? Why don't you see if maybe you can call on just while we're debugging this, why don't you see if you can call on like customer.all and see maybe you can actually render all those. Give that a shot. It's better if you could figure it out rather than me show you. So cool. So you do have an index method there. Can I see your Postman? Did you hit, can you hit send for me? Internal server error.
Oops. Sorry.
Oh, you know what it looks like? Maybe you put some extra code somewhere in there. Can you go to the, it looks like you maybe wrote code somewhere that you did not intend to. Hang on. Oh no, it's because there's an error with this. So this is not a valid Ruby code. That's why that was breaking.
Okay.
Oh, you're still not valid. You're missing a closing curly bracket on. Yep, there you go. Give that a shot. Oh, you don't have to restart that. You should be good.
Oh.
But you can if you want, just to be safe. Rails is pretty good about not having to restart a lot of the time. Sometimes you will need to, but try sending another post or GET request.
Sorry.
Can you try sending another GET request and see if it gets
Yep.
stuck by bug? Sick. Bam. Golden. Nice. So now why don't you stop sharing screen and try playing around with it for a bit. Try playing around with that params object. We've got like.
Okay, I got it. Okay.
Cool. So type in params and see what you get. Cool. How are we feeling on what we've been doing so far? Fist to 5. Nice, nice, nice. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Seeing decent responses here. Marissa, were you able to get the Postman downloaded? Okay. Is it a computer issue? Is it a space on your computer issue? Yeah, that happens. Cool. All right. So next thing that we're going to do is we're going to like, if you don't fully understand what's going on, it's okay. We're going to do, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create like, what would an actual index method be? So an index method, what it would actually do is it would render all of the customers. So let's see. I'm going to start with my I'm going to put a byebug in there. We're going to start with that. Here's what's cool that y'all may not have realized. I'm going to restart this server. I'm going to go back to Postman, and I'm going to send a request. Kablam. So I sent this request. Something y'all may not have realized is that inside of here, this environment, this whole server instance is aware of all my stuff in my database and shit like that. So for example, I could type in customer.all here. What do I get as a result in customer.all? An empty array. Why do I get an empty array? Any ideas?
We don't have any customers in there.
Yeah, we haven't made any customers. Exactly. But that's okay. Getting an empty array is totally fine. But what we can do is, since we have access to that, this customer.all, we can say, oh, let's store a variable. I'm going to say my customers equals customer.all. And now the thing that I'm going to render to JSON or to JSON, whatever. The thing that I'm going to render to JSON is going to be that customers variable that I found. So if I did all of this right, what I should see is basically an empty array whenever I send to this endpoint. I don't need these query params right now. We'll need them for the more complicated ones. Did I save it? I must have not saved it. I might see, look, sometimes you just gotta, sometimes you gotta restart your server. That's what I'm gonna do now. No big deal. Bam, could not get any response. Send it again. Cool, there we go. Empty array. That's exactly what I wanted because I don't have any customers right now. Let's go ahead and just in our seeds really quick since I know y'all know how to do this part. Let's just make a couple customers. So I'm going to go to my seeds file and I'm going to delete everything. And I'm going to say customer.create and we'll create one with a name of John. And I think we just had name, right? I don't know, we'll go for it. So I'm going to do Rails DB seed. Bam. And now if I run my Rails SP9000 again, hey, look, now I have a customer of John. That's pretty cool, right? How do we feel about that so far? Fist of 5. C2, C5, 3, nice. Okay, so I would say a really good goal for the next 20 minutes would be try to create an index method. Why don't you first create a seed, just so that way you can test out what's going on, and then try to make an index method and see if you can get that index method working. Cool. I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock. If y'all want to keep going, I would be happy to keep going. So set timer for 5 minutes.
Okay, your timer is set for 5 minutes.
Also, in general, if you're just not a fan of the pacing, you could always just hop out. This is not a mandatory class.
John, do you mind showing your seeds again?
Sure. Pretty simple here.
Thanks.
No problemo. And I'm going to try and actually get rid of this so that way y'all can't see it. Whoa. Oh, music, right.
Hey, John, from the Postman site, what I want to download is the desktop agent, correct?
Probably. If you want, I will do a one-on-one with you after this. Or if you actually, better yet, why don't we hop in a breakout room now while everybody works on their index methods. And if you can, you could even try your show method. So to give you a little hint on the show method, if you go to this endpoint and then now add an ID of 1, let's go ahead and send this in. And you see how I'm stuck in this byebug? If I look at my params, notice how I have that ID of 1 got sent, and that ID gets sent because of this one right here. It's kind of like the exception here. It's a special endpoint. But whew, I am tired. That like hit me. I hit that like 2 o'clock sleepies. Yeah. But yeah, so if you want to try and do your show method, my recommendation is you're going to need this ID that's being passed in, and then you're also going to need to do a find. So you could do, like, for example, customer.find by ID or params ID. And now I found that customer. But I'll let y'all try and figure that out. It's okay if you cannot figure it out. Sweet. I'm going to go ahead and hop in a breakout room and try and help Marissa with this. I'm also going to stop this recording.